This is Nikki, aka Kiwi Cruisette. I'm currently on a 48-state USA motocamping trip. I'm almost at the 3-month mark, and I wanted to do a video on safety. So these tips and tricks will be helpful for anyone who's going motocamping, but in particular those of us who are traveling solo. Now, traveling solo can feel a little scary, especially in the beginning. There are ways that you can prepare for your trip so that it is as safe as possible. And to be honest, I feel safer out here than I do in some big cities surrounded by people. You'll need to prepare mentally as well as have your equipment. So think about the 3 P's. Plan. All the different scenarios. Write down all the things that you're most afraid of, all the different outcomes, and how you could best prepare for each of those outcomes. And then gather the equipment that you need so that you can be safe in a variety of circumstances. This may involve getting the right camping equipment, the right riding gear, the right security measures. What am I gonna do if it starts pouring with rain and there's nowhere to shelter? Or what am I gonna do if I have a mechanical failure in the middle of nowhere? Think about those scenarios before you leave and decide how you can best handle them, and then gather the equipment you need to best support a good outcome. And lastly, I recommend everyone practice. Go camping, practice setting up your equipment, practice using your maps, do your basic maintenance ahead of time so that you're comfortable doing it out on the road. So plan for all the scenarios, prepare with all the equipment you need, and then practice. The topic of safety is a really big one, so I've broken it down into 4 different categories. The first one is personal physical safety. So this is about how you are safe around other people and animals. The second one is location, navigation, and communication. So this is knowing where you are, where you're going, how to get there, and sharing that information with your loved ones. The third category is about bike and rider safety. So we'll talk about bike limitations and rider limitations and how you can extend them with some best practices. And fourth, we'll talk about environmental safety and dealing with the elements. All right, let's jump into it. Now, I do not carry, I don't know how to shoot a gun, and I'm traveling across every state in America, and that's pretty illegal to carry a gun across every state, so that is a no from me. First thing that I do is use my situational awareness. So this sounds really simple, but really trusting your gut instinct. My first tool in my tool belt is to just leave. I am never locked into a situation. When it comes to camping, I'll be looking for a camp spot that's either surrounded by a lot of people or no one at all. I will never rock up next to one person, pitch my tent, and say this is a great idea. Not gonna happen. If it's getting dark and I can't see who's around me, I'll often just pop on a coat, put on a beanie, and get to work setting up my campsite. So that hat and the coat helps to disguise my gender. And once my tent is set up and I'm inside, all that people can see is a motorcycle and a gray tent. So this could truly belong to anyone, and chances are it belongs to a dude. If I am doing dispersed camping, I will make sure that I am well away from the road so anyone driving past can't spot me. I'll tuck myself behind some bushes. Now, one thing you could do if you're just starting out moto camping and you're worried about people seeing a solo tent and thinking you're an easy target, you could bring one of those survival tents, the ones that are pretty lightweight, and you could set up a second decoy tent. It might just help in those first couple of nights where you're feeling a little bit nervous about being alone. No one is going to suspect that that is a fake tent. So when I'm setting up my bed for the night, I have a couple of things I keep right next to me within arm's reach in case there is an intruder in the tent, which I've never had. Okay, so I always keep right next to me my bear spray. This could be used on humans in an emergency. I also have my air horn. So if someone's breaking into your tent, you probably don't want to default to the bear spray because this is going to get you as well. This blasted in their face is going to blow their eardrum apart, and it's going to scare away any animals as well. So I keep this one right next to the bear spray. I also make sure I have my headlamp because I want to quickly be able to identify someone if they're in the tent. I also have this clip knife that folds out. This is very sharp. Better than the knife in my opinion is I also like to sleep with a big rock next to my bed if I can find one. I'm not exactly sure how I would react if someone was breaking into my tent. I have a feeling that I would be apprehensive about using a knife. I would feel a lot more comfortable smashing their head with a rock. But I have an array of options. Don't underestimate how scary an air horn to the face is when you're not expecting it. Within reach, I always have my mace. So this is the same as the bear spray, but it's for humans officially. It's useful for when I'm just walking around if I ever needed to use it. And it's also visible. So this sends a signal to people, I'm prepared. Food. Making sure your food is secure from any animals. We've got bears, we've got coyotes, we've got raccoons. I make sure that my food is either secure in my hard bags of my bike. I will always read the signs on the notice board at the campground and follow whatever advice they have. Sometimes campgrounds have bear boxes, which is amazing. Often they don't. I will string my food bag up in a tree. I advise you to look up some videos on YouTube on how to do that. It's kind of an art. Okay, so that wraps up safety as it pertains to other people and animals. Let's move on. The next safety category is location, navigation, and communication. I've lumped them all in together. I use my Garmin InReach satellite phone. So what this does is this sends out a signal to satellites that say my exact location, latitude and longitude. I have a group of people who have that link, and at any moment in time, they can log in and see where I am. It gives them peace of mind and it gives me peace of mind. One thing about this phone is it doesn't do calls. I can only text people, but that's okay. I have a road team. So this is a team of 3 people that have agreed ahead of my trip to be on the other end of any SOS texts. And they know if they get an SOS from me, it means they need to call my tow truck company or insurance company or whatever to get the help I need. This did actually happen in Yellowstone when I blew my rear tire. I had no cell service on my phone. It's more common than you think. Now, in addition, this phone also has an SOS button. So it's protected under a little flap so that you don't accidentally push it. If I was to push this button, it would send a message to the local police. A situation where my friend had to use this button. He was the first on the scene of a head-on collision on a stretch of road that had no cell service. Having a plan for helping people be able to locate you is really important. This could be a breakdown or an accident. You really want to make sure that you have some sort of way that people know where you are. I advise you to check if there is going to be service in the places that you're traveling to. Highly recommend that you upgrade your data plan to unlimited. So I was on 8 gigs before I left for the trip. I blew through that within a week. Now, when it comes to navigation, what I use is a combination strategy. So I use my phone, I use my Butler maps, and I also use my GPS. So I have maps on here too. Now, the reason that I suggest you think about using a combo method is that if one of them fails or doesn't have service or no battery, or you just can't figure one of them out, you have an alternative. So primarily I use paper maps. I also do use Google Maps, but I highly recommend that you download those maps so that they work offline. They'll also preserve any local campgrounds as well as any places to eat and gas stations. Letting your friends and family know where you are planning to be that day and where you're planning to sleep, most importantly. If you're not going to have a tracker which will allow them to see where you are in real time, make sure that you organize ahead of time the frequency of communication that they can expect from you. So if anything happens, your family has the most up-to-date information on you, and they know to sound the alarm nice and early if they don't hear from you. And lastly, let's talk about online communication. So for me, my rule of thumb is to post about a location after I have left. And that ensures any internet strangers never know exactly where I am. So this is really important. You never know who is out there. So the third category is bike and rider safety. My number 1 pro tip is to keep your emergency information in an accessible place. I have got my emergency information written down on a piece of paper inside a Ziploc bag taped to the back of my helmet. So if I'm ever in an accident, someone will be able to hopefully find this information. It's in a visible spot. I have my name, my date of birth, my address, my driver's license number, all my emergency contacts, and my personal medical information. So any allergies, any medication I'm on, my blood type, and I also have my insurance details on here. If you are in an accident, I hope that you are wearing the right gear. This is designed to help save your life. So a good jacket, pants, boots, and helmet, you want to get the right gear, certified from a reputable brand. I have a video on my riding gear. You're welcome to look at it. I also highly recommend getting a good rain suit. So if the weather does change, you are prepared for that situation. That includes having some thermal underlayers. Plenty of riders get caught out at night, not realizing how low the temperature can drop. And you can get hypothermia without even realizing it. Layers, layers, layers. If you're doing a long trip, it can be easy to just go and go and go. But this is not good for your mental state. You will get fatigued. Jump off that bike, take a 5 to 10 minute break, walk around the bike, get some blood pumping, hydrate. You might not even notice how dehydrated you get. With that wind rushing into your face, and you're out there in the hot sun, you need to drink more than you think that you need to drink. So keep your drink bottle in an easily accessible space. When I've got my earphones in, I just have one earphone in so that I can always hear if there's anything going on with my bike or my surrounding environment that needs my attention. When it comes to my wallet, my credit cards, I keep these separate. I have lost this wallet before and had to use my spare credit card. Thank goodness I found my wallet. So separate your cards. You could even keep one in your pant pocket, one in your bag, whatever works, but I cannot recommend enough separating your methods of payment. Also in this little documents Ziploc bag, I have my bike insurance papers as well as my registration and my title. So if I do at some point along the road need to ditch this bike, get rid of it legally, I have my pink slip and it's not going to be a rigmarole for me to organize. Now let's talk about bike safety and security. So obviously making sure you do those daily checks on your bike, tire pressure, do a walk around and make sure that everything looks legit each morning before you set off. I keep a log of when my maintenance is due. I've already done over 11,000 miles on this trip, so that means I've got a lot of things that I need to keep track of. When do I need to do my next oil change, my next filter change? When do my valves need adjusting? When are my brake pads due? I will keep it all written down in a log so that I'm not relying on my memory, which is not so great. Taking note of any weird sounds or leaks. Having a good set of essential tools that fit your bike, so all the right wrench sizes and Allen keys so that you can perform basic maintenance. I also have a mini jump pack. So this allows me to jump start my battery when I leave my lights on. Gas. Do you need to bring a spare gas tank? I've got a 1 gallon strapped to the back of my bike. My tank is tiny. I can only do about 100 miles, and there are some stretches of road where there's no gas for 150 miles. So that spare gallon gets me over the line. I have a line of hose. This will allow me to siphon gas off a passerby if they let me in an emergency situation. A spare set of keys. In addition, I keep an ignition key, a third key, inside my helmet lining. So again, if I lose my spare keys and my main keys, I can still at least drive the bike out of whatever situation I'm in. Maybe my bag gets stolen. Maybe my other keys get taken as well. I have a secret place that I keep. It's not so secret anymore, but you know, I don't mind sharing it with you guys. Don't tell anyone. It's my backup. Disc brake alarm. This thing is loud. Pop on the front brake when I'm asleep. And I also have a pack safe, which is this. Now this goes over top of my luggage and secures it to the bike. This is cut-proof metal. I also don't keep my valuable items on the bike when I'm going places. And the last category of safety is environmental safety. So you need to be really careful of the elements out there. If you're riding for as long as I am, across country with a crazy amount of weather patterns and seasons to contend with, you're gonna wanna do your research. So I recommend checking the weather every day. I have just heard that there is an app available only for Apple users, of which I am not, that tracks the weather along your route. Another thing to be aware of is poison oak or poison ivy. I thought I had found the perfect dispersed camping spot out in Colorado. It was quite dark. Once I had my flashlight on, I noticed my hand was starting to itch where I had turned the key off. Lo and behold, I am surrounded by poison oak. It was truly horrifying. So if you're not really sure what poison oak looks like, you can download an app which helps you identify it. But again, if you don't have service, that's not helpful. So I'd recommend that you download a PDF with some photos. In the same vein, if you're going to a place that has a lot of poisonous spiders or poisonous snakes, it's a good idea to do a bit of research on what those look like. So if you do get bitten, you can relay that information to emergency service providers who will need to find an anti-venom of some kind. It is good to have a full first aid kit, have band-aids, bandages, saline solution, burn creams, the exhaust pipe gets me, as well as antihistamines, painkillers, you name it, I have it in my first aid kit. And lastly, don't forget to put sunblock on. I actually keep a little mini sunblock inside my tank bag, face mask, my sanitizer spray, and also sanitizing wipes. And I keep these all in my tank bag. One of the joys of solo moto camping is that you are already social distancing. Do make sure that you've got your personal protective equipment in a place that's easy for you to grab. I also keep a couple of spare masks in all my pockets, just in case I lose this one. So we've covered a lot of bases today. I feel like a lot of these apply to any moto camper, but particularly as a solo female moto camper, there is quite a lot for us to take in and to consider, but it should never put you off going on your moto camping adventure. I love traveling solo, and what I do is I plan, I prepare, and I practice before I go, and I feel like I can handle any situation with confidence. This one's been a long one. I hope that you stay with me to the end. If not, I don't blame you. But get out there, enjoy your moto camping trip, and I'll see you in the next video.